What's this? A new process video that didn't take me a year to make? Yep. I've been working on my new Oracle deck, which is still unnamed, alongside a bunch of client work, which I can't share because it's all NDA. This is the second card I've finished, currently titled The One Who Carries Stars. I'm already painting the third card and feeling like I have a lot of momentum, and I'm hoping that that feeling and the momentum will pick up a little bit as the year continues to go on. You can find my sketches, my inspirations, and more details about my process on this piece over on Patreon, where your support helps me focus on these personal projects. Even just joining the free tier is an easy way to stay updated about the deck, and it's extra nice to show support for working artists in these days of rampant AI-generated images. You can also join my newsletter for updates about my work. I only send out about 1 to 2 letters a month unless I have a special event going on, and I keep them pretty journal-like, I suppose is a good word for it. It's like a letter. You know, I'm not super focused on advertising my own shop or anything like that. You get to see, some behind the scenes stuff in there. But anyway, I'll add the links down below. And onwards with the painting at hand. Taking a look, you might think, hey Sam, why the swans? So while I have you here, let me tell you why swans. Near where I live, there's a little pond frequented by all sorts of wildlife. It's on a quieter road and the closest place to feel more surrounded by nature, so I walk there pretty often. This past autumn, I was struggling with a lot of things all at once. The grief of losing a young friend unexpectedly, and personal health problems that were preventing me from doing much of anything. I was determined to at least go outside and try to start walking again. So I would make my slow way over to the pond and watch the ducks, geese, herons, and other birds. On my visits, the swans would consistently acknowledge my presence and come over to me at the water's edge, and I'd watch the light on their feathers turn warm and golden. The stillness in these moments was so tangible I could hear the droplets fall from their beaks and see the little ripples move out across the glassy water. They would dip their heads beneath the surface, and the reflection of their long necks would create circular portals on the water. Those moments gathered together the joy of witnessing nature and the processing of all the grief I was feeling. It was comforting, and I was able to really feel the depths of turmoil going on within me and cry it out. As autumn turned to winter, the swans disappeared, perhaps to another pond somewhere. And when the weather turned cold and unpleasant, I visited the pond less and less. Over the winter, I sketched out my ideas for this card and eventually began painting. The day before I finished this card, I went back to the pond for the first time since autumn and found that not only had the swans returned, but they built a nest. While one stayed on the nest, the other came right over to me to say hello, and we shared some lettuce from my lunch. I felt really silly, crying while eating my sandwich with a swan, but I felt very moved by this symbolic conclusion, this magical little rebirth, and thinking about the dance from the bleak grief of autumn to the hope and joy of spring, and how it aligns with the creation of this painting. I'm happy to report that the last time I was visiting them, the swans had 5 fluffy little babies that they brought right over to me, and sometimes I even catch a glimpse of them from my studio window. I've been thinking lately about how this synchronous pattern finding and story making is very much a part of my creative process when it comes to my personal work. Whether you consider it magical or just a part of brain function, I think there's room for both. It's this part of my process that makes me feel connected to the world around me and makes me really love creating art. I hope that in some way, shape, or form, my meetings with the swans and the emotions I experienced come through to you in this card. Of other matters, there's social media. I think complaining about how draining social media can be is just preaching to the choir at this point. Between the implosion of Twitter and Instagram becoming very video focused and needing to post consistently and having any sort of break or slow down in productivity being punished, it's just not great. It's not great. And there's so much work you have to do for so little reward. The rewards are forever dwindling. But yeah, if I didn't need it for work, I would probably spend very little time with social media. But, you know. So I've been thinking about a new way to approach social media and online spaces. I think I need to do whatever feels the most natural to my existing process and what makes me happy and feels rewarding. Whatever I do, art needs to remain the centerpiece, and I need to make sure that, you know, social media doesn't become the thing that takes up all my time and energy. I'd like to make more long-form video here, since I prefer long-form over 15 to 30-second short clips. I want to encourage a little more slowness, a little more craft, a little more care and connection and intentionality in the spaces around me. I'm not totally sure how to do that, but I'm going to work on figuring it out. Speaking of slowness, I love writing and receiving letters snail mail style. I've had a few requests from people asking to send me things, so after a little debate, I decided to open up a P.O. box. I'd love to see postcards of your art or poetry or anything you'd like to share. Your thoughts on social media, or I don't know, whatever. I'll put the address up for you here and down below. If you include your mailing address on the postcard, I will also do my best to write you back. I already have a couple postcards that I would like to share in a future video. And for those of you who have already sent me postcards and letters, I will do my best to write back to you. I've already got some cards lined up to write to you. I'm very excited. But yeah, that's all I have to share for this video, so enjoy the rest of it in peace and quiet. Thank you to all my patrons for your support of my art. I couldn't make this stuff without you, so I'm really glad you're here. Alright, have a great rest of your day.